Good morning. I have a long speech I can read to you if you like about the budget process, but I'm going to condense it right now. As you all know from working with the Finance Department, this is essentially going to be a status quo budget year. That's for a couple of reasons. One, we've had more than $200 million in improvements over the last couple of years. Secondly, tax revenues are likely not to grow as much this year as they have in the past. I know you've been working with the Finance Department and understand that. There are some departments, I think yours might be one of them, where there's some built-in increases as a result of commitments that have previously been made or statutory requirements. If you could start by introducing your staff and then give us a brief statement, we may have a few questions.
Okay, thank you.
Introduce yourself and your staff.
Okay, thank you. I'm Nancy Whittemore. I'm Director of General Services, and with me today is Laurel Creech. She's our Assistant Director for Sustainability, and Diana Atwood, our Financial Manager. And in the audience is Velvet Hunter, who is Assistant Director for Administration, and Stacy Wall, who is Assistant Director for Fleet. So I'm just going to go over just some real high-level responsibilities in general services so people can know what our core business is, and then I'll talk a little bit about our budget request. The department is made up of 4 divisions. We have admin, fleet, building operations, and sustainability. In building operations, we're responsible for building maintenance, ADA compliance, and design and construction services. The maintenance staff, you probably have seen some of those folks around in your office, but we maintain 4 million square feet through an array of services like janitorial, ground maintenance, pest control, HVAC, preventative maintenance, and mechanical and electrical plumbing services. We have several capital projects in the works that our design and construction staff are working on. Right now we are building the police headquarters out on Murfreesboro Road, the Family Justice Center that is also at that location, the Sheriff's Complex that includes the jail and the mental health facility. We're doing renovations to the Birch Lobby, and we're also doing some updates at the Police Training Academy. And projects that are in the procurement stage includes the Hermitage and Bellevue fire stations, Bellevue Community Center and the ice rink, and the Sheriff's Department's headquarters. And we have a few projects that are in the planning stages. We got money last year to start the planning for the Juvenile Justice Center, Public Works, their relocation to the East Center, the Emergency Communications Center, the new Southeast Police Precinct on Murfreesboro Road, and the Donaldson Library. We are wrapping up the Commerce Street parking garage project that added 351 parking spaces there, and so that should be opening very soon. And we have ADA staff that works, they play a critical role in all of these projects to ensure compliance, and whether it's with construction services or programs, but they do that across Metro. Moving on to fleet, we manage over 3,400 pieces of equipment, from ambulances to fire trucks to police cars to trash trucks. We have 3 garages, which is our heavy fleet, which is anything over 1.5 ton. Our light fleet is anything under 1.5 ton, and then our grounds fleet is where we take care of grounds equipment like mowers and tractors and those kinds of things. The Division of Fleet manages the fuel program for Metro. We have 5 sites across the county, and we at those sites we have dispensed 1.5 million gallons of fuel this year, and that's pretty close to what we do every year. And then we also have the fuel program. Fuel card program, where Metro employees can purchase fuel from retail stores, and on those sites we do about 1.1 million gallons of fuel. So it's about 3 million gallons of fuel we do a year. We also provide record and roadside assistance. We recently implemented a new fleet management system. We can now track a piece of equipment from the time it arrives until it's ready to be picked up. We have departments that have administrative rights to that system, so they can go into the system, they can see when as they drop off a piece of equipment and monitor that all the way through the repair process. So this is giving them more information than they've ever had during that process. The system also notifies fleet coordinators regarding preventative maintenance, so hopefully we can get equipment in as they're scheduled in a more timely manner, because we know that extends the life cycle of a piece of equipment. Moving on to the administration division, it's responsible for eBid Nashville, print and postal services, and as you may know, eBid Nashville is our online surplus property system, and we take surplus property and excess items, and it generates about $2 million in revenue every year. This division also manages the contract for our print center that is out at Metro Southeast, copiers, printers, and multifunctional devices. And then we have our postal services that delivers the U.S. mail and interoffice mail to Metro agencies. Moving on to sustainability, I have to say this staff lives and breathes sustainability and works very closely with the divisions of general services on strategies and practices. They're currently working with our fleet division on how we electrify the fleet, so we're doing an inventory of that, and as pieces of equipment come up for replacement, we'll make a determination on whether we can make that an electric piece of equipment. We have 21 LEED certified buildings. About half of those are gold and one is platinum. We continue to monitor the energy utilization index of these buildings, and we're working toward a goal of an EUI of 30. We know this is a challenge. Even with our LEED buildings, our EUI is around 50. And so we are doing things where we're monitoring outlets and coming up with strategies on how we can reduce that energy utilization. The Division of Sustainability also manages the Center of Responsible Energy, and this is where we monitor our building automation systems in an effort to reduce energy costs and to make informed decisions about equipment replacement. In the Corps, we also monitor the DES system and looking at as it comes into our buildings, electric charging stations, and our solar panels. Last year, we produced over 142,000 of kilowatt hours of renewable energy from the 8 rooftop solar arrays that we have. And we also purchased 510 Music City solar panels, too, so we were one of the first ones to do that. A highlight of this division is the Socket program. This is where we engage others around sustainability and education issues, and trying to make people more aware and how to change behavior. Just last Friday, Laurel and her staff was at Metro Animal Care and Control and talking to them about sustainability and practices that they could at work and at home also. So that is a high-level overview of the department, and our budget request is pretty straightforward this year. We're asking for $1.3 million for the two facilities that we'll be bringing online, which is the Police Department headquarters and the Family Justice Center. That includes utilities, janitorial services, ground services, repairs, stormwater, and a lease for the parking lot. So that encompasses a comprehensive building services that we would do for them. And then on the other is $182,000 for contract escalations in building operations. Those are escalations that are built into the contracts, and if an agency or a company requests that, then that will go through purchasing for approval. So I'd love to answer any questions.
Do you want to talk about the timeline for the headquarters and Family Justice? I think this is probably an annualized number.
Well, okay, so we anticipate the construction to be completed in October of this year, but we have to, the utilities and everything comes to us sooner than that when we start commissioning the building, and so it does go back to June. I think July, so I think July, August is about the right time. There'll be other things that we will not be doing, but I don't know if you want to look at us backing some of that out, but it is an annualized.
So this is what it's anticipated to cost on an annual basis for both of those facilities
That's
going
correct.
forward.
That's correct.
But no new staff is necessary in order for y'all to continue to manage these additional facilities.
We're not requesting any new staff. We do have contracts in place through that subsidize our staff, and so if we would be using that in conjunction with general services.
And the mud puddle that is, as they call it in Bellevue, where the ice rink is meant to go. Well, what's the status of that project? They complain about it. I've not seen it.
Yeah, it's in procurement, and I think they're going to have an evaluation team this week, so we should have a decision on that pretty soon, and we're ready to roll as soon as we get a final decision on the construction team.
And what's a anticipated timeline for completing that? Once it gets underway?
It will be, let's see, I think it's fall of 2019. In meeting with the Preds, they would really like the ice rink to be ready in, I think, August, because they have a rookie camp or something coming to Nashville. So we're gonna squeeze that schedule as much as we can.
August of 19.
Uh-huh.
I want to ask you about fleet.
Yeah.
And the reason I want to ask you about fleet is because I see Mr. Swan in the back. He did an audit of fleet just several months ago. Mm-hmm. Would you kind of summarize where you think you are in terms of some of the recommendations made by audit?
One of the good things is we had no findings. They were only recommendations. And I think we've been working closely with the audit staff, and we've been submitting information to them. So some of the items we've already completed, and others are on track to be completed in June of this year. I think the two that will be felt by departments will be around utilization of vehicles. And in looking at how many underutilized vehicles we have, over 500. So, and some of those are as low as 8 miles a day and as high as 20 miles a day on the underutilization. So what we are doing is, as we're meeting with departments this year, we're saying to them, one is, can you reduce your fleet? If you don't need that vehicle, can we reduce your fleet? If not, is there a way to move that vehicle around to where it is utilized more? And we will help them look at there are other pieces of equipment that are utilized at a higher level. And then the third option would be to do a pool of vehicles where, for example, on Fulton campus, if we have, we have several different offices there, and we could do a pool of vehicles where people could check them out, and we could test that. We've already been testing that with our electric vehicles. We've done that here at Fulton campus, at Lentz. Where else are we doing it? Parks. And so that system is working well. So if you look at what's happening across the nation with other fleet operations, many cities are moving to this kind of a shared vehicle. And we're also going to look at sharing other pieces of equipment, too, at their utilization. So
you're anticipating some financial savings if some of those things were 500 plus vehicles? Or?
If we look at reducing the fleet, absolutely, you look at some financial savings, and even with pulling cars, because if we pull cars, the anticipation would be to pull other cars out of the fleet. So we're working on that, and we should have, some recommendations for you. And then the other recommendation was on take-home vehicles, and so that is something that every year we ask for that information, but we're going to do a deeper dive on that and to see how those are being utilized and looking at that justification.
Yeah, I've sat in on that meeting.
I know. I thought that might get your attention.
It's all got my attention. I would like to, I guess you just have to look at how Lyft and Uber have disrupted everybody's use of a vehicle and wonder if there's not some way for us to maximize our dollars by doing the same sort of thing with what we have, with the cars we have. And especially if we're paying, is it 8 miles a day on average for some vehicles? Mm-hmm. And so
The other option is looking at if there's seasonal kinds of vehicles,
Right.
if we can go to like a leasing situation where we lease those cars just during that seasonal time if someone needed 100, every day. So there's a lot of options to look at. We just need your support in helping us move through this and working with departments.
Well, obviously, if a department could pay less for their vehicles and needed more staff, that would be a productive trade-off, I would think, for most departments, right? So we'll push on that.
Okay.
EUI, the acronym you use, and what does that stand for?
Energy Utilization
Okay.
Index.
Okay. And then just generally in terms of sustainability efforts, where will the emphasis be this next year?
Well, we're always interested in reducing our energy costs, and so we monitor that. But this EUI, if you look at the lead buildings where it's a 50, and our goal is to get down to 30 or near 30. So that's really where our focus is, and what kind of technologies we can even go back to our lead facilities that we currently have to give us information on how we reduce that. Some of it is behavioral, that we need to, work with occupants in the buildings on how to reduce that energy cost too. But so that's one, and then of course on any new construction, Laurel's team works with the construction team in looking at solar and how we implement that. And so one of the goals is to have solar panels on, if it's doable, if it's feasible, and if it's the right thing to do on our new buildings.
Okay. And the last question I have is about workforce availability in terms of maintenance on vehicles. I hear that this can be challenging in some cases to find enough available people. How are we doing there?
Well, we still have some vacancies, and we continue to try to recruit, and we've worked closely with the HR department on some strategies on how we can get other folks in. Last year, we came up with the idea of having an apprentice, and so if we could get folks who are interested in this field, then we could do some of our on-the-job kind of training and hopefully get them committed to Metro and to stay. But right now with this economy, we get people in and they're gone. So it is a challenge. We do have some backups on how, with our dealerships and moving equipment out to them for repairs. So it is a challenge for us, though.
And not all Metro-owned buildings are managed by General Services. There's some departments that manage their own
That's correct.
spaces, right?
Yes.
And so is there a sense of energy utilization? Is there a difference between the two, or is one type of building a lower energy use versus the other?
Well, when we do our annual report on our lead buildings, we do the comparison with others. So I don't know how other departments manage their energy use and what they look at, but I know that's something that we think about every day and that's important to us. So we have not done anything in comparing utility usage on similar buildings, but it's something that I guess we could do if we needed to.
Well, I mean, just like the fleet, to the extent we can reduce our energy costs, it's more people who we can put to work and
Absolutely.
So
that is one of the things that, since I've been in General Services, that we've worked very hard at is reducing our cost, and that's one of the ways we've been able to survive over these years with our budget cuts, is because we know there's savings when you start looking at energy and energy cost.
And Laurel, what was the goal of energy production? I think we had Livable Nashville had a specific goal, didn't it?
Right. It was 20% reduction within 10 years.
Okay.
was
But
our
wasn't
goal.
there like a production of a certain number of megawatts too from solar that we?
Yes,
I can't
and I
remember what it
can't
was.
recall
Yeah.
exactly what that number was.
And so just
we're climbing, and that's the other thing that we're working on is energy reduction, as well as adding renewable energy to both our new facilities and our existing building.
as I think you know, I'm very interested in that and committed to making sure we do that as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.